10 Secrets You Should Know About Tiger King. Lately, Netflix has really upped the ante by releasing some high-caliber documentaries that make you feel like you're watching a fast-paced drama. And this March was no different. The release of the highly anticipated docuseries Tiger King: Murder, Mayhem, and Madness had viewers binge-watching like their lives depended on it. Let's be real, this show is a classic, and if you haven't watched it, we urge you to log into your Netflix account and check it out once you're done with this video, please. The show highlights the lives of a few eccentric individuals involved in the exotic pet business, and as you go on, it reveals the shocking and ominous dealings that they've soaked their hands in. It's so good. We're dead sure you'll be hooked by the second episode. If you've already watched the series, then there's no denying that Netflix left out a few important points on the enigmatic character Joe King. And as good as it was, it felt like a few pieces to the puzzle were missing, eh? So, to finally satisfy your curiosity, we'll be taking a look at the 10 most astonishing secrets of Tiger King. Number 10. He loved pets so much, he once ran a pet store. Before the Greater Winewood Exotic Animal Park was born, Joe King initially partnered with his brother Gerald, and they ran a pet store in Texas. Unfortunately, as it's revealed in the heartbreaking docuseries, Gerald met his death in 1997 following a tragic car crash. Distressed, Joe made the decision to leave Texas behind and purchase a 16-acre farm in Oklahoma, which would eventually become the famous, or shall we now say infamous, Gerald Wayne Exotic Animal Memorial Park. As you can clearly see from the title, he named it in memory of his brother, who also shared his strong passion for animals. Number 9. He once ran for Oklahoma governor. Watching the dynamics of the series unfold, it's easy to pick up that Joe King is a people's person, a gift he's probably nurtured from an early age. For instance, he did manage to convince a few people to vote for him in 2018 when he attempted to run for governor. Though he didn't make it past the primaries, 664 people were convinced he was the perfect fit. And that's not even the half of it. Did you also know he ran for president as an individual candidate in 2016? He only managed a meager 962 votes nationwide. So whether he really did want the presidency or was just doing it for the media, one thing's for sure, he caught America's attention. Number 8. This is not the first on-screen appearance. For many Americans, Tiger King: Murder, Mayhem, and Madness was the first real look into the life of Joe King. But for many who don't know, he was actually in another documentary, America's Most Dangerous Pets, released in 2011. Hosted by British film reporter Louis Theroux, the film follows Theroux's wild expeditions across the United States as he meets some of the most extreme exotic pet owners out there. Ironically, Joe had his own web series that chronicled his day-to-day life as an exotic zoo owner. It also showed the strained relationship he had with his arch-nemesis, Carol Baskins from Big Cat Rescue. Number 7. Tiger King has had more than 2 marriages. Travis Maldonado and John Finlay are not the only people that Joe has tied the knot with. In fact, Joe's first marriage was way back in the late 90s to a man named Brian Rhyme. Unfortunately, Brian met his death in 2001, succumbing to HIV-related complications. After nursing the terrible heartbreak of losing his first husband, Joe then met John Finlay, and he rekindled love shortly after. Still not willing to settle down though, Joe later met Travis Maldonado and asked John if all 3 of them could get married. After the trio, or shall we say throuple, tied the knot, the relationship went south. John, who honestly didn't fancy the setup, decided to walk out. Things went from bad to worse for Joe when Travis accidentally killed himself with a shotgun to the head, thinking it wouldn't go off if he pulled the trigger. 2 months after Travis's tragic death, Joe met Dylan Passage, and they tied the knot. Number 6. Joe was once a police officer. Surprised? Yeah, so were we. Joe had somehow managed to clinch the sheriff's post at Eastvale, Texas, right after graduating from high school. The town, however, had only 500 occupants at the time of Joe's tenure. It was 1985, and Joe was surprisingly living with his girlfriend. Yes, his girlfriend. Well, secretly exploring the gay nightlife in Dallas. As a sheriff, Joe had it rough. He even claimed he once attempted to commit suicide by running his police cruiser into a concrete bridge embankment because his depression had overwhelmed him. After his recovery, Joe decided to set his eyes on greener pastures and moved on to Florida. Number 5. Abused as a kid? Joe claimed that as a 5-year-old, the older boy took advantage of him on numerous occasions. According to the account, he admitted that the despicable act took place in his own home. In fact, the boy would come over and lock them in the bathroom before doing the unspeakable. Despite this one dark memory, Joe admits that he had a decent childhood in a Kansas farm where he regularly interacted with animals from a young age. Unfortunately, as he grew older, the relationship with his father deteriorated once he came out as gay. Because his father did not support him, he finally decided to move on and bid his goodbyes. Number 4. Stealing magic tricks from his partner. In the amazing Netflix docuseries, we see Joe performing at different venues and events. Joe wanted his show to be so entertaining that he added magic tricks to his performances. Well, it turned out he was stealing these tricks from Johnny Magic, a talented magician that initially worked together with him. Number 3. He used the settlement from his brother's death to build the park. Because of his brother's unfortunate passing, Joe's parents received a life-changing settlement from the trucking company after they were found liable for his death. His hardline parents, however, wanted nothing to do with the compensation, claiming it to be blood money. On the other hand, Gerald's wife and children, who were also beneficiaries of the settlement, wanted a soccer field named in his honor. Joe managed to convince them otherwise, saying that a horse ranch would be the perfect way to commemorate him. Winewood eventually became the Gerald Wayne Exotic Animal Memorial Park, famous for its GW Zoo. Number 2. Cardi B is an ardent supporter of Joe. After the scandalous Netflix docuseries on Joe King was trending in America, some notable supporters came out to support Joe. One of them was Cardi B, and she was so moved by his story that she tweeted that she would open a GoFundMe page to help release Joe from jail. The tweet received more than 48,000 likes. She then continued to say, "Did Joe dirty," referring to Joe's rival Carol Baskin, allegedly framing Joe by murdering her wealthy husband Don and feeding him to Joe's tigers. And now we've come to the best pick of the day. They say that dog is a man's best friend, but for Tiger King, hence his distinct name, it's gotta be the tiger. Look how cozy he is with that big fella. Tigers are known to be some of the most fierce carnivores in Asia. Though ferocious, they can be partially tamed if fed regularly. Seems like Tiger King is having a picnic with that big cat. Number 1. It's not always him singing. Joe King has released quite a number of songs and music videos, which, to be honest, can make an epic cringe compilation. Nevertheless, you've got to admit that he's got a pretty great voice, right? Well, it might not be him even singing or writing these songs in the first place. Allegedly, songwriter Vince Johnson is the man behind some of Joe's greatest hits, while the voice commanding the songs is none other than Danny Clinton. However, none of the two have openly taken credit for the songs in question, but we're pretty sure there's something brewing behind the scenes. Which brings us to the end of the video. With all these secrets, what do you think of Joe King now? Let us know in the comment section below, and once again, thanks for watching.